The truth is out there. Knowledge is power. This is the Prepper Podcast Radio Network.
The new Be Prepared for Christmas package from Sun Ovens contains everything you need to harness the power of the sun for cooking, water, and dehydrating. The perfect gift for the preppers or outdoor enthusiast on your shopping list. A sun oven uses the sun's power to bake, boil, or steam food, heat water for purification or personal hygiene, or solar dehydrate. When you use the sun's power on sunny days, you preserve your fuel storage for rainy days. Sun-baked foods retain moisture, have less shrinkage, and do not burn. Sun-baked roasts are tastier and more succulent, and sun-baked bread has unparalleled taste and texture. The new Be Prepared for Christmas package lets you roast an 18-pound turkey. For the past 26 years, Sun Ovens has been proudly made in the U.S., are durable, and have a long life and come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. For a discount coupon, visit sunoven.com/podcast. That's sunoven.com/podcast.
And with winter comes dangerous driving conditions. Get your vehicle ready for bad weather by getting it serviced as soon as possible. Prepare for emergencies by packing food, water, warm clothes, and weather-appropriate shoes or boots. Don't forget to check the spare to make sure it's usable. Stay informed on bad weather, dangerous driving events by visiting prepperpodcast.com. When Christmas comes, you don't want your family to stare at an empty chair.
Are you sick and tired of having your First Amendment harassed or censored on Facebook? Use no more, as we now have a new alternative to Facebook. It's called Awareness Act. Awareness Act is a social network designed for patriots, to be used by patriots, and is ran by patriots. Stand up and help in the fight to protect your constitutional rights. Patriots can create pages, blogs, videos, documents, articles, and so much more. We even have a unique news feed system that allows you to share, read, or connect with any patriot on Awareness Act. We are a dedicated tool for patriots to use against the tyranny our Constitution is facing. So if you're tired of having your rights infringed upon, come check us out at www.awarenessact.com. Again, that is www.awarenessact.com, the social network for patriots, not potatoes.
Whether you take me for the fool, I know that I can be. Whether you see me eye to eye.
Have you ever wanted to generate your own supply of electrical power, even save money on your electric bill? If so, this is going to be the most important message you will ever hear. Solar power generators are now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. Unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running quietly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, and even keep your food from spoiling. Whether it's hurricanes, ice storms, brownouts, or blackouts, you'll never suffer through painful power outages again. And here's the best news, a remarkable fall truckload sale going on right now that gets you $1,700 in bonuses when you buy a solar generator. To find out why solar generators are the best generators and get $1,700 for doing so, go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com. Generate your own supply of electricity. Go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com.
This is KPRN-DB, broadcasting worldwide from Southeast Oklahoma, USA, to parts unknown.
everybody. Welcome to Survival and Beyond, and I'm your host, as usual, Ed Corcoran, here on Natural News Radio and the Prepper Podcast Radio Network. Back again this week with another show, hopefully waking people up and hopefully inspiring people and hopefully empowering some folks out there, getting y'all to realize that you and you alone have the power, and you're more powerful than you probably realize. And, you know, last week I was talking about, speaking of individual power, speaking of your birthright and the power that you have. And, you know, there's a fundamental paradigm shift, and there's a paradigm shift that I'm experiencing myself right now. You know, I talked last week about the futility of movements and groups, and, you know, and I reflected a little bit on my idealistic past, and that wasn't too long ago. As a matter of fact, on this very show, I've been known to try to rally people up, and, you know, people got to get together, and people got to stand up, and people got to organize and demand redress and demand that their rights be upheld and protected and everything. And, you know, and you might want to call it, you might want to say that I've become jaded and cynical. I'm not, well, to a degree, yeah, I've become somewhat cynical about that, because, you know, it's just it's proving to be futile. It's proving to be pointless, and also with the infiltration of movements from the oligarchy, from the New World Order, from, you know, whatever you want to call it, the controllers, the owners of this country, of this world. Even if it weren't for that, it's one of these gestures, like I said, like I'm fond of saying, you know, protesting and demanding redress and demanding demanding reform, and, you know, whatever it is that your issue is or what your platform is, you know, that kind of movement, it would be effective if we truly lived in a free constitutional republic. But that no longer exists anymore. You know, I hate to disillusion anybody, but there ain't going to be any change that way. It ain't going to happen. It's becoming painfully obvious that all of the protesting and all of the petitions and all of the hollering and screaming and the movements and all of this reform, all these reform agendas, they're not going to go anywhere. All you're doing is you're making noise, and you're gratifying your need to feel like you're actually making some meaningful change. But it's, you know, like I said, at one time that was probably the case, but not now, not no more. You know, and I hate to say it, but it's really true, and like I was starting to say earlier, one of my favorite lines is, you know, protesting and petitions and doing all that stuff is like it's like peeing your pants in a dark suit. You get a nice warm feeling, but nobody really notices. And I was a member of many groups, and I would go to the protests, and I would be an activist and do all that stuff, and it feels great. And then the next morning you wake up and everything is exactly the same. Nothing changes, nothing happens, because it just doesn't work. That's not the way it works anymore. And speaking of which, you know, I wanted to present an update of the speaking of pointless gestures, and yes, and I will concede that this whole secession petition thing is pretty much a pointless gesture, in that it is not going to affect any change. Even the petitions that have exceeded the mandatory number of signatures in order to get attention and get response from the White House, the response is going to be they'll get a good chuckle out of it, and before they throw it in the circular file. However, I do think it's important still that the message is being sent and that voices are being heard. I think it's sending a powerful message. There are many out there who, downplay and ridicule the secessionist petitions. And a lot of people think that, for those who think that this is just a lot of infantile, crybaby, sour grapes because Romney lost the election, that is such a narrow view that it just infuriates me every time I see this, because these are people who are still locked in the illusion of the two-party system, and that must be the reason, right? It must be the reason that the reason why everybody is starting these petitions is because they're all upset that Romney didn't win the election, as if like there are only two choices. No, these petitions are started by people who are patriots and who believe in freedom and liberty. And a lot of these states have been calling for secession for months, if not years, before this most recent presidential travesty, the presidential selection, this game, this play, this theater of an election, and I want to throw this on top of the pile as well. I mean, not only does protesting and joining movements and organizing and trying to petition the government, not only is that futile gesture, even voting anymore. I've totally lost faith in the electoral process, and not for the first time either. I mean, I've lost faith in the electoral process when I was in middle school, when I was in junior high school, and I learned about the Electoral College in my social studies class or civics class or whatever it was, and my belief in the voting process and the power of voting has gone back and forth. It's waxed and waned throughout the course of my life, but I'm fully convinced now that if you think, I mean, when I went to go vote, it felt like such a pointless gesture. It felt like such an exercise in futility, and it is anymore. And when you get to the rampant voter fraud that's been reported, and that really just, and I'm going to get to that later on in the show, but right now I don't want to stray too much from the topic or digress, go off on a tangent. I want to keep on track, and there are several states that have already exceeded the mandatory number of signatures for these petitions. Looking here at the list: Alabama, Florida, Georgia. Georgia's got two petitions, and they both, one got 31,791 signatures, and the other one got 44,045. Louisiana, one of the first states to register a petition, and yes, I know it's not the state government who is originating these petitions; it's individuals. And I get annoyed when people bring that up as if that's meaningless because it's not the state government who's putting these petitions up. It's just the people. It's only people. It's only citizens. It's only individuals who are doing that. Well, that's what America is, or at least that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be about the people, and to say that because it's only the people who are putting up these petitions and it's meaningless, I take great exception to that. It really annoys me. North Carolina, over 30,000 signatures. Oklahoma, 27,337. Tennessee, 30,799. Texas, 116,039 signatures. And the Free State, New Hampshire, they have not received the obligatory or the necessary amounts of signatures yet, and it will be tough. But speaking of one state where there are actually governing or people involved in the state government involved in this, our state representative Dan Itse is behind this, and he's part of the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence, and and he was on Glenn Beck, and Glenn Beck is freaking clown shoes, okay? And I don't know if any of my listeners are fans of Glenn Beck, but I'll tell you what, my opinion of him is he's a joke, and if not a tool of the controllers, I take him with, I don't take him seriously at all. And when Dan Itse was on his show, Glenn Beck is not behind the secession movement, and he had Dan Itse on the show, and it really annoyed me to watch it, because Glenn was just really kind of like slighting him and ridiculing him on a very subdued level. It wasn't overt or anything, and but so to say that it's just a bunch of whack jobs and rabble rousers and whatnot who are behind this. I mean, the New Hampshire state legislature is, or at least one member of the state legislature is behind the secessionist movement. And New Hampshire is one of the top donor states in the country. Is, I think, fifth. New Hampshire gives more money to the federal government than 45 other states in the union, and we're a small state. And as being such, it's going to be considered. It's considered quite challenging for a state like New Hampshire to get 25,000 signatures. But other states have been calling for secession for years. Vermont, our neighboring state, years people have been wanting to secede from the United States, and it is not un-American. It is not those who would say that this is a treasonous suggestion. Well, then it was treasonous for the colonies to want to secede from the power of Great Britain. It would be our founding fathers were treasonous then. This is backed up by the Declaration of Independence, at least. And here's where the fundamental disconnect comes, and it's because secession is not legal. Ever since the Civil War, the Constitution was amended to and made seceding from the Union illegal in order to prevent another civil war. And these states that are, or the people from these states who are calling for secession, are not looking for a civil war. Although that's likely, I can't help but wonder if a state actually goes ahead and declares itself as being no longer, as withdrawing from the Union. It makes me wonder how soon it's going to be before tanks roll into that state and tell them, no, you're not going to do that. But the spirit of the secessionist movement is peaceful. It's nobody. I don't think anybody wants to go to war with the federal government. I think people are just fed up, and they realize that we don't live in a free country anymore. We don't live in a republic. We all of the ideals of what America should be and what it stands for, and liberty and personal freedom is gone. It's not a constitutional republic anymore. The Constitution is destroyed. It's gone, and I'm through talking about what America is becoming. It is no longer a free country. Not with the Patriot Act, not with NDAA, not when American citizens can be assassinated extrajudiciously without a trial, not when American citizens can be detained, arrested, thrown into a gulag without a trial, without due process, when all of our communication is surveilled, and I'm going to get to that as well, with the huge NSA surveillance facility, and this is not just a surveillance. It's not just phone tapping and reading your email. This is a code breaking, aggressive. your phone conversations are no longer private. Nothing that you do is private, and which brings me back to the secessionist thing, where a lot of people are warning, oh, you better not sign that petition because you're painting a target on your head, and you're basically telling the White House, you're telling the administration that you're a troublemaker and again, a potential domestic terrorist. Well, you know what? Everything that you do anymore will get you labeled as a domestic terrorist. So it doesn't even matter. If you're a prepper, you're a potential domestic terrorist. If you buy too much food storage or too much ammunition, or if you own a gun, or and just ludicrous things on these checklists that the Department of Homeland Surveillance is this literature that they've been passing around for the last year or so, last couple of years. So does it really matter? Does it? It's too late to hide. You ought to know by now that whatever you post on Facebook will get you on a list. You ought to know by now that whatever websites you go to is being tracked. So signing the petition. I can't be afraid anymore. And especially with me doing a show like this, and you go to my website, I'm already on the radar. And if you're doing anything, you don't even have to have a show that's critical of the government or a website that's critical of the government. You just if you visit, those websites, then you're already on the radar. So it's pointless to be concerned about that anymore. They've already got you. They already know what you're doing. They've ever since 9/11, ever since the Patriot Act, for over a decade, your emails have been read. Your phone calls have been recorded and listened to. All of your activity on the internet has been surveilled. So, what is there to hide anymore? But anyway, I'm not going to say to anybody, I have not signed the petition, the New Hampshire petition, but and I'm not sure if I'm going to or not, because like I said earlier, it is ultimately it's ultimately a futile gesture, but it is a gesture, and I still believe in standing up and making a statement despite my cynical misgivings about movements and whatnot. It's looking more and more like there's only two things you can do anymore, and that's secede or move somewhere else, like Iceland. And all that. If you haven't heard about what was going on in Iceland, and if you haven't, I don't blame you, because there was a complete and total media blackout about what was going on in Iceland. A lot of you patriots out there, you probably already know about this, but Iceland, instead of invoking the too big to fail, Iceland did. They let their banks fail, and they forgave all the public debt, the mortgage debt, and everything like that. And they got rid of their corrupt politicians. And you know what? They didn't collapse. They didn't fall apart. They didn't. They're doing great now. 3 years later, and Iceland is the best thing they could have ever done. And the corporate-controlled media, the bankster-controlled media, of course, they don't want Americans knowing about that. They don't want us hearing about, hey, you know what? They let the too big to fail banks. They let them fail, and they forgave everybody's debt, and they got their economy back on track, and they kicked out all their corrupt politicians, and that's the way they do it. And they didn't fall into the European Union, and they're doing better. They're doing better than the Eurozone now. So anybody who that's proof positive. That's proof positive for all Americans that the whole too big to fail and the bailouts and everything is a bunch of bull. It's a bunch of conditioning, to again just continue to keep you in a hole and keep the American people docile and ignorant and in debt perpetually. So then that's all you can do and even the secession movement isn't really, it's just a return to constitutional values. It's a return to freedom, to a republic. So you're looking at two things that could easily be called un-American or unpatriotic, seceding, or just moving somewhere else. And and I would have called it unpatriotic as well. Now, I don't have any plans to move to another country, but I wouldn't blame anybody if they did, really. If you're a patriot and you're just like, hey, America's done. It's done. It's over. There's no the machine is rolling over you. The tank is rolling over you, whether you know it or not, and you can't you can't stop it. The banksters are in control. There's nothing that you can do when you realize this. The only thing that you can do, and yes, there is a third option, and that's the option that I'm promoting with my show, is that you just have to wake people up. Not only, it's not even a point of waking people up to the truth of what's going on in this country and with this government and political and everything. I'm completely transcending that. It's waking people up on a human level, waking people up to their power, your power, your power. Every single person on this planet, you've been suppressed, you've been conditioned for centuries, and never mind, in America, never mind the banksters and the oligarchy and the conditioning and the suppression. This has been going on for like 6,000 years. That we as human beings, as sovereign individuals, have been suppressed. So this taking a few steps. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking a few steps back and addressing the larger picture, and really that really liberates me when I think about this. And when you're presented with a problem, or when I am presented with a problem, I should speak in the first person. In the past, I would get despondent about this. This exact thing that I'm talking about. It's like saying, oh, there's nothing you can do and everything, and it's all pointless and it's futile and all that now. And I want to make this clear. I want this to be a clarification. Do not get me wrong. When I say this, I'm not being defeatist, and I'm not being. I might be. It might be colored with some cynicism, and I might be a little jaded about it. But this is by no means defeatist, right? This is just looking at the actions, or looking at the solutions that don't work, and just being honest about it, looking in the face of it and saying, hey, this doesn't work, okay? We've been trying this long enough, and it ain't working. Einstein defined insanity. He says, I can think of no better definition of insanity than doing the same thing over and over again, and each time expecting a different result. And that's one of my favorite lines. It's something that I carry around with me on a daily basis. If something's not working, then stop doing it. If you can see that it's not having an effect, then do something different. And another one of my favorite lines is, when you're presented with a problem, and getting back to what I was starting to say, when you're presented with a problem and you cannot see a solution to it, do not give up, because you have the power to either find a solution or make a solution. And that solution is, and when I see myself, and is my timer going off telling me that we're getting close to a commercial break, but I want to finish this thought. When I find myself now presented with a seemingly insurmountable problem, and I've tried everything I can think of, and those things didn't work, instead of giving up, I realize that I have it within me to create a solution. If there are no solutions, if I tried all the available solutions, if I tried all the solutions that seem apparent and seem obvious, and none of those things worked, in the past, I would have said, and given up. I would have just got frustrated. And but now I have a totally different outlook on this. I have a totally different perspective. And when I'm presented with a problem I can't find a solution to, I have the faith to know that I can find a solution. I can make a solution. If I can't find it, then I'll create it. And each one of you has that ability. Each one of you, and people only give up because they don't realize that every solution has a problem. Every solution has a problem. Every problem has a solution. I guess dyslexia there's a solution to my, that's not even dyslexia, that's aphasia. That's word salad. No, every problem has a solution. And just because you can't see it right away doesn't mean that it's insoluble. It doesn't mean that you're just stuck. I mean, you can allow yourself to be stuck. You can talk yourself into thinking and being defeatist and saying, that that there is no solution, but there is a solution. It just hasn't come to you yet. You haven't created it yet. And really, a problem is just an opportunity to prove to yourself, at the very least, it's an opportunity to prove to yourself that you can manifest and you can create your own solutions. But you just, have to. You just can't give up. You can't just get defeatist and give in to what the powers that be have been trying to convince the human race for centuries, that we're small, we're powerless, we're ineffectual, and we're limited. As long as you realize that you can step above that, you can rise above that, you are not a limited creature. You are not a limited being. We're all incredibly powerful beings that have been brainwashed and conditioned over the course of history by churches, by governments, by institutions that want to keep us in a box and keep us compliant and fearful. That's what has happened to us. All of these institutions have been trying to keep chains on us, and instead of putting physical chains on us, they put chains on our minds and convinced us that we're small creatures and we're limited, and we're not. But we're going to take a commercial break and give some sponsor love, the folks that keep the show on the air, and we'll be right back.
No one knows what the future holds, whether an unexpected natural disaster or a catastrophe of a more personal nature. You never know when you're going to need to call upon your survival skills and supplies. In order to be fully prepared, we at Dan's Depot believe you need two things in order to get through these uncertain times without fear: proven gear and top-notch survival training. DansDepot.com is not just another storefront selling survival gear. Our staff has been studying, practicing, and teaching survival skills for over 4 decades. We use and abuse all the gear we sell. So, when we recommend survival products, you can be assured that it's the highest quality gear available at the best price. But having the best gear means nothing if you don't know how to use it. That's why we have on-site video instructions to help you choose survival products for any situation. Each week, we produce new training videos and articles that inform, challenge, and better prepare you in all areas of survival, first aid, and self-reliance. Come visit us at dansdepot.com and let our team of survival experts help you get prepared with the knowledge and equipment you need to face these uncertain times with confidence. That's DANSDEPOT.com.
Silver has been in use as an effective antimicrobial for thousands of years, and this old technology is still in use today. In 2001, a patent was approved for a new medical silver application, nanocatalytic silver hydrosols. Unlike conventional colloidal silver products, some of the advantages of nano silver include up to 300% greater bioavailability, proven non-toxicity in over 25 university and FDA-approved laboratory studies, and extreme stability with a shelf life of over 10 years Guarantee. With just one product, you can replace all the antibiotics, wound and burn dressings, and water purification products in your medical bug-out bag. These products have been patented for use against some of the deadliest pathogens known, many that are resistant to traditional antibiotics, yet are safe and gentle enough for treating a baby's diaper rash. To learn more about this medical silver breakthrough and see the published scientific studies, visit www.lifesilver.com. All orders ship within 24 hours with deep discounts and free shipping for case orders. That's www.lifesilver.com. Survival is not about the end of the world. It's not about a hypothetical plane crash or the latest violent storm. Survival is about the satisfaction of knowing you can take care of yourself and your family in any situation, anytime, anywhere. CampingSurvival.com was started in 1956. No, not the .com part, the survival part. CampingSurvival.com has over 17,000 urban, wilderness, and preparedness items. Supreme customer service, very low shipping, and no games. We look around to make sure we have the lowest prices. And CampingSurvival.com is 100% USMC veteran-owned. Don't base your survival on the latest spring up on the internet company. Do business with an authority on survival. CampingSurvival.com. Confidence born on preparation.
Okay, and we're back here at Survival and Beyond, and I just want to give you all a quick reminder that you can get 5% off all of your purchases at CampingSurvival.com by entering the coupon code SBRadio. That's S as in survival, B as in beyond, and the word radio. And that's all one word, no spaces. Enter that coupon code SBRadio at CampingSurvival.com and get your 5% off. And hope you support our sponsors, and by doing so, you help support this show. All our sponsors are great, and I appreciate your patronage. Now, getting back to the show, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about some of the issues that are going on, the rapidly increasing usurpation of our rights, and the growing police state, and the surveillance grid that's just keeps on going, man. I mean, every day, just when you think it can't get any worse, just when you think it's gotten as bad as it can possibly be, and you think that there's no limit, when you think there's no limit to the audacity of the control grid, and sometimes I'm at a loss for words. Sometimes I get just so flummoxed, so just outraged, and I try to keep a positive attitude, and I try to keep my optimism, keep an optimistic outlook and everything, but it just gets worse every day. It gets worse every day, folks. And one of the things that last week, we'll start off with this. How about this? Sometimes I don't know where to even begin. And we'll start this week because I addressed this last week on the show in regards to just the unbelievable stupidity of the American voting public, and the unspoken thought was that it's voter fraud. The elections are a scam. The elections are. No, you know this. This is something that in the back of your mind, and this is why I really didn't get into it. The reason I didn't really go into it in any kind of detail was because I really didn't have any solid facts, to back it up, and I hate to go fly off the handle about supposition or suspicion or things that really can't be backed up. I don't like to be knee-jerk reactionary about these things. I like to, I'm not a conspiracy nut, although there are conspiracies. It's just beyond denial anymore. I mean, I knew the electoral system was broken years ago, especially after the 2000 election. I mean, if any election screamed fraud, it was the first election of George W. Bush, and everybody just accepted it. They just rolled. Everybody knew that Bush didn't get elected by popular vote, and but that's the way it is in our culture. That's the way we've been programmed to respond as a people, as a world, especially here in America. We've been programmed. And we've been programmed to, even what little truth that they give us, and whatever the evidence that we are given is just a fraction of what's actually going on. But we've been so programmed and so sheepified. We've just been so programmed to be shocked and outraged and forget all about it. It's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle that happens over and over again. And I'm sure that you folks, my listeners, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to belabor the point. But the voter fraud is rampant. We all know that the machines, the Diebold machines, can and have been programmed to change voting results, and the information that's coming out is just beyond denial. I posted an article about it on survivalandbeyond.net this past week. It's called "The 22 Signs That Voter Fraud is Wildly Out of Control." And I won't go through the whole list, but I'll go through some of the highlights that have been reported. That there are over 70,000 voting problems reported by 5 p.m. Eastern Time on election night. All 70,000 problems. There were 59 voting divisions in the city of Philadelphia, where Mitt Romney didn't even receive a single vote. Now, how does that make sense? And in those voting divisions, the combined vote total was 19,605 votes for Obama and 0 for Mitt Romney. There were areas where the voter turnout, or where the number of votes exceeded the number of registered voters. There were areas where the number of registered voters exceeded the population. In Philadelphia, Obama got 99% of the vote. I would say it's unbelievable. It is believable because we've been seeing this stuff happen. We've been seeing all of this total deception going on constantly, and it's just picking up pace. Getting back to a few other. Prior to the election, voters in the states of Nevada and North Carolina, Texas, and Ohio all reported that voting machines were switching their votes from Romney over to Obama right before their eyes. And then Ohio, this is like, it just defies logic. It defies belief. In Cuyahoga County, 50 precincts in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, where Mitt Romney received 2 votes or less. Now, I want to make abundantly clear that I am not a Romney supporter. So, there's invariably, there's always the defense from all the Obama robots out there that whenever anybody brings up stuff like this, it's like, oh, you're just mad because Romney didn't win. And it's like, no, I didn't want Romney to win either. And those of you who listen to my show, you're aware of that. But, for those who probably this is the first time listening, yeah, I'm not beating my chest about this because I'm upset about Romney not getting the election. I voted for Gary Johnson. So this is just I don't know how anybody can overlook this. Let's see what else we got. A few other just astounding reports here. 10 counties in the swing state of Colorado have a voter registration rate of more than 100%. So, there are other reports where people showed up to the polls to be told that they already voted, and guess who they voted for. There's an undercover video, and you got to see this video. When you see this video, it will infuriate. If this doesn't infuriate you, then you better check your pulse, or you're just not paying attention. But there's also a video that I posted in the same post on survivalandbeyond.net, the 22 signs that voter fraud is wildly out of control. And this is undercover video which show Obama campaign workers actually advising people how to vote more than once, or how to vote in more than one state, or what to say if they get caught voting twice. Totally in support of that. There are also reports that unions in Nevada were registering illegal immigrants. Reports of deceased people who were on the voting poll, the voting records, and it just goes on, and it's just absolutely mind-boggling that nobody's getting upset about this. There's no investigation. You think there's going to be an investigation? Hell's no. No, because again, the people who are being made aware of this were programmed to get outraged for a few minutes, and then 5 minutes later we just completely forget about it. What's on TV now? I've got other things to worry about. That's the way it is, and I don't think that it's. I really don't think it's going to change anytime soon. The robots are going to be robots, and for those of us who are awake, we just have to keep on going. We just have to keep on trying to wake other people up. But it's just really discouraging. And I try to stay optimistic, and I try not to be too cynical. But it's really just amazing to me that this can still go. It doesn't even register in people's brains. It just doesn't make an impact. But you can read the entire article. Like I said, I don't want to go through the whole thing. You can read the entire article at survivalandbeyond.net, and also there's the information. There's all kinds of other information about survival preparedness. We got videos, we got downloadable survival guides, and but moving on, there's my little plug for the website. I think a lot of people are digging the website. In fact, the traffic's pretty robust at the website. So if you haven't been to survivalandbeyond.net, now's your chance to check it out. Anyway, moving on to the next thing, the NSA, the surveillance grid. Folks, this is absolutely frightening. Most of us are pretty much aware that we are being watched, data mined, surveilled. All of our internet activity, all of our posts for Facebook. We all ought to know that by now, that everything that we say and do on Facebook is being watched and recorded. And a few months ago, the big story came out about the huge surveillance facility in Utah, the NSA, this $2 billion NSA surveillance. This is more than just a data mining facility, folks. This is a full-on grid. It's a matrix. It's a supercomputer that's capable of storing up to 1 yottabyte of data. And for those of you who may not, I have no way of conceptualizing what a yottabyte is, but that's like a 1 quadrillion, I believe, 1 quadrillion gigabytes. I'm trying to find my notes on this, and even that is not enough to really conceptualize or to visualize what that a quadrillion gigabytes. Yeah, just pulled up that file. Put it this way: if you took every hard drive in existence, took every hard drive on the planet, it would not equal 1 yottabyte. This they can store in on 1 yottabyte on a yottabyte you can store every piece of data in the world for 100 years. For the next 100 years, every single piece of data is generated globally can be stored in this computer. And it is an encryption breaking, code breaking. They're not passively collecting data. They're going out and breaking through your encryption. So those of you who are all excited about the cloud and cloud computing, or you're handing over your information to one of these identity protection companies like, I'm not going to mention any company names, but you know what I'm talking about. That you're just when I first heard about the cloud and about all these, data protection services or these identity protection services, I was saying, hell's no. No, I'm not handing over my data. I'm not throwing my stuff up on the cloud. Because for two reasons. First of all, the cloud computing thing is there are two dangers in that, and first of which being that the internet may not always be there. So you're going to rely on the cloud when, what are you going to do when it disappears and it takes all your data with it? And secondly, you're just throwing this stuff out there. You're making it easier for the government, for the Stasi surveillance state to get your information. So if you're on the cloud and you're throwing stuff online and using one of these services, I would seriously consider not doing that. I would seriously consider. I mean, it's probably too late now. If you got your stuff on there, it's already been combed through and everything. But yeah, there's no encryption safety anymore. Like take Skype for example. I use Skype for a good percentage, a large percentage, almost all of my communications, all of my all of my business contacts and my professional contacts. I use Skype. I use it as a virtual office for conference calls and everything. And when I first got a Skype account, I was comforted by the fact that they claimed to have encryption that was more sophisticated than the data encryption that the military uses. But and also they were not a U.S.-owned company. They were owned by a company in Luxembourg. And so I felt fairly safe using Skype back then. But since then, from what I'm told, Skype has been bought by Google, and Google is famous for rolling over for the government. All the government has to do is they don't even have to give them a warrant or anything, approved by a judge. They don't need any permission from the judicial system whatsoever. All they have to provide them, they just show them what's called a national security letter. And they roll up on Google, national security letter, give me access to this person's email account. And speaking of email accounts, you probably heard about the whole David Petraeus scandal. Now, isn't it ironic that the head of the CIA, who was strongly in favor of all this intelligence gathering, this intelligence gathering machine, the end of privacy for Americans, fully in support of it, fully, the head of the CIA, for crying out sakes, what do you expect him, to say? That he fell victim to his own machine. So and it's really ridiculous, I think, first of all, that the FBI would be investigating an affair that he's having. He's cheating on his wife. How does that qualify as a matter of national security? What I think it is, I think it's a distraction. Anytime one of these scandals comes up, it's always something that's designed to draw our attention away from the bigger picture and things that they don't want us to be paying attention to, such as, like the whole Benghazi catastrophe, that whole travesty. Anytime these things happen, you can be sure that this is meant to, wag the dog and hey, stop paying attention to that, pay attention to this instead. And so, for the last week, everybody's been flapping their lips about Petraeus and and his affair, his extramarital affair, and he resigned as the head of the CIA, and I'm not even sure. It's either a wag the dog situation or it's a situation to get him to resign. But Petraeus has always been in favor of the surveillance, whatever new surveillance technology, and every new violation of our privacy. So, in a way, I feel kind of vindicated, but in another way, I know that this is just more of the shell game, more of the misdirection, So, anyway, we got. I've only got a few minutes left to talk about this, because after the next break, I want to get on to a more positive, more empowering, more enlightening, or uplifting, I should say, subject matter. But the NSA, getting back to that, so they've got this enormous $2 billion just surveillance machine out in Utah, and Obama has recently signed. It's not another executive order, but it's what they call Presidential Policy Directive 20, and the Electronic Privacy Information Center, or EPIC, as it's called, has been they filed a Freedom of Information Act request with the Office of the President in hopes of uncovering more information about this order that he signed. And basically what it is just another outlet to enact martial law, and again using cybersecurity as the excuse, putting the military in charge of protecting the U.S.'s cyber concerns, our systems and whatnot. And boy, like my head's spinning just even thinking about this, because how many more times are we going to keep buying this excuse, the security excuse? Every single time that more of our rights are taken away from us, every single time the Constitution is violated, they just throw the word security at us, and then all the little sheep say, okay, and it's becoming, it would be a joke if it wasn't so infuriating that we just keep doing it, and by we I mean the sheeple, not those of us who are awake. Those of us who are awake are trying to get people to pay attention to it, and it's like, oh, calm down, it's not, you're a conspiracy nut. This is not conspiracy theory. This is right there. This is right in front of people. And again, the security scare. I don't even understand why people are scared of what are people afraid of? I mean, every terrorist plot that's been foiled by the FBI has been created by the FBI. All of the efforts that are supposedly, are supposed to be meant to catch terrorists and whatnot, it hasn't caught a single terrorist except for the ones that the FBI created, and setting them up so they can knock them down. It's I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. But again, you can read about this on survivalandbeyond.net. There's the article about Obama's. The title is "Obama's Secret Law Paves the Way for Military Rule in the Name of Cybersecurity." So EPIC is filing its. I want to read a little bit. I don't want to just gloss over it. Hey, go to the website. I want to give some information, but one of the quotes here is the NSA cybersecurity operation, and this is from one of the lawyers from EPIC. NSA cybersecurity operations have been kept very, very secret, and in fact, the whole facility was nobody knew about this until it was exposed in Wired magazine. I'll tell you what, my hat's off to those guys at Wired. They've really been stepping up. Not just, in my mind, previous to all the reports. They've been coming out with a lot of reports regarding the overreach of the government and the violations of the Constitution and all the things that affect our liberty and our freedom. They're not just their mandate. Originally, I was just like, well, that's for geeks and techno geeks and whatnot. And now those guys have really been doing a great job exposing this stuff. But nobody even knew about this facility until a few months ago when it was exposed. And so now they're playing the mock-up game. They're just saying, oh well, this is what we're doing. And to make matters worse, this new presidential directive is just clearing the way for the military to come in. But anyway, I was reading the quote. The NSA's cybersecurity operations have been kept very, very secret, and because of that, it has been impossible for the public to react to them. That makes it very difficult, we believe, for Congress to legislate in this area. And where the hell is Congress? Congress is completely impotent. Forget about it. It's in the public's best interest from a knowledge perspective and from a legislative perspective to be made aware of what authority NSA is being given. And that's what it is. So we've got the Department of Homeland Security to worry about. We've got FEMA to worry about. We've got the FBI, the CIA, and now we've got the NSA. Well, the NSA has always been a threat, but nobody really knew what the NSA was up to. And so this is what it is, just opening yet another door for martial law to take place. And if this is news to you, if you're just finding out about this, and I urge you to tell everybody that you know. There are so many ways that martial law could be declared now, and it's just ridiculous. And ridiculous. It feels stupid even saying ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. It's infuriating. This is America, damn it. So here's your choices. You either secede, or you move somewhere else, or you just elevate yourself from the whole system. And we're going to talk more about that right after the break. We're going to take another quick break, and we're going to get to the real meat and potatoes. A lot of my listeners have requested that I cover some more information about the pineal gland and what can be done to decalcify it, to detoxify it, to reactivate it. Because a lot of us are walking around with a dormant pineal gland, and it's by design. And this isn't just within recent history. This isn't just about fluoridated water. This has been by design for centuries. This has been suppressed. Our pineal gland and knowledge of it has been suppressed, and it's been deactivated. And so when we come back after the break, we'll be talking about that and other things, other ways that you can elevate yourself from the matrix, raise your consciousness, learn and discover your true power. And we'll be right back.
No one knows what the future holds, whether an unexpected natural disaster or a catastrophe of a more personal nature. You never know when you're going to need to call upon your survival skills and supplies. In order to be fully prepared, we at Dan's Depot believe you need two things in order to get through these uncertain times without fear: proven gear and top-notch survival training. DansDepot.com is not just another storefront selling survival gear. Our staff has been studying, practicing, and teaching survival skills for over 4 decades. We use and abuse all the gear we sell. So, when we recommend survival products, you can be assured that it's the highest quality gear available at the best price. But having the best gear means nothing if you don't know how to use it. That's why we have on-site video instructions to help you choose survival products for any situation. Each week, we produce new training videos and articles that inform, challenge, and better prepare you in all areas of survival, first aid, and self-reliance. Come visit us at damsdepot.com and let our team of survival experts help you get prepared with the knowledge and equipment you need to face these uncertain times with confidence. That's DANSDEPOT.com.
Charlie McGrath here with an important message from Chris, Phil, Russ, Tyler, and the folks at PrepareWise.com. Do not wait until it's too late to be prepared for a disaster. The world's a crazy place. We have the ever-present threat of man-made political and economic crisis, making it important to be prepared. But when you factor in natural disasters, it goes from important to mandatory. A 7.7 earthquake in Canada, a 6.5 earthquake in Central America, and over 50 million Americans affected by Hurricane Sandy. It's time to make Legacy Premium freeze-dried storable food part of your preparedness plan. Legacy Premium tastes great, has a 25-year shelf life, and is the only certified non-GMO freeze-dried storable food in the business. I really recommend the 360-serving package. That's 120 days worth of life-sustaining calories for about $1.25 per serving. Give the guys over at PrepareWise a call at 888-545-6265. Again, 888-545-6265. Or better yet, visit them online at PrepareWise.com.
Survival is not about the end of the world. It's not about a hypothetical plane crash or the latest violent storm. Survival is about the satisfaction of knowing you can take care of yourself and your family in any situation, anytime, anywhere. CampingSurvival.com was started in 1956. No, not the .com part, the survival part. CampingSurvival.com has over 17,000 urban, wilderness, and preparedness items. Supreme customer service, very low shipping, and no games. We look around to make sure we have the lowest prices, and CampingSurvival.com is 100% USMC veteran-owned. Don't base your survival on the latest spring-up on the internet company. Do business with an authority on survival. CampingSurvival.com. Confidence born on preparation.
Okay, and we're back here at Survival and Beyond, and now we get to the fun part of the show. We get to the uplifting part of the show. We can't talk about negative things all the time. You know, when I first started doing this and started doing the show and started talking about survival and also about freedom and about all of the forces that are out there that are enslaving us, it didn't take long to realize that, first of all, my concern was that I don't want to instill fear. I don't want to be all about fear. I don't want to just frighten people and get people upset and worried and in a constant state of anxiety. And I also realized that I cannot be in a constant state of anxiety. I have to be awake. I have no choice. Well, I do have a choice. I could choose to go back to sleep, but I really can't. You know, I've tried to go back to sleep. I've tried to just turn a blind eye to everything going on around us, and sometimes, you know, I have to take a break from it. Like this weekend, as a matter of fact, I had to have a self-imposed media blackout. You know, sometimes I have to just get away from the news and stop concentrating on it so much, because it will make you crazy, especially if you're mired in it all the time. And this is what I do 24/7, full-time. I'm always out there keeping up to date, keeping on top of everything that's going on. And sometimes you just have to say enough and take a break from it. But I also don't want to be nothing but doom and gloom for my listeners. And I think it's important to be solutions-oriented, to not just point out the problems, but also bring up solutions. And I think I think the only solution, really, is to get your consciousness up, functioning on another level, really. And that I've come to the realization that really is the only solution, is to try to instill an awareness of consciousness as a force, and that's really what it is. Our consciousness is what creates our reality, and it is a force. Taken from a quantum perspective, quantum science, quantum physics has illustrated that our consciousness has an effect on the subatomic level. I spoke a little bit about this last week, you know, the whole realization that observation has an effect on the way particles behave, and that says a lot. That says a lot about consciousness. That shows that when we are aware of something, when we pay attention to it, we actually affect it. And I'm not going to go into that too much. I already spoke a lot about that last week. If you missed last week's show, then it's there in the archives. You can go to survivalandbeyond.net and click on show archives and listen to any one of the previous shows. Also, you can listen at naturalnews.com, and there's an archive page there as well. So, moving forward, I've gotten a lot of requests from listeners who want to hear more about the pineal gland and how to reactivate it, how to cleanse it, detoxify it. And again, I mentioned it before on a previous show, and I feel like I kind of glossed over it, and I didn't really give it enough attention or give it the amount of attention that it really deserves. But for those of you who are unaware of what the pineal gland is and what it does, the pineal gland is a gland that's right in the dead center of our brains. And Descartes, the philosopher Descartes, referred to it as the seat of the soul. And that is really what enables us to be connected to the rest of the universe, really. It's more than that. I mean, it's referred to as the third eye. It's what gives us our intuition. It's what gives us our awareness. It's where our consciousness comes from. And in most people, the pineal gland is about the size of a pea, and it's really supposed to be bigger than that. It's supposed to be about the size of a peach pit or larger. But due to our diet and our environment and toxicity that we put into our bodies, it becomes small, it becomes calcified, and it becomes inactive. And we've known about the pineal gland for centuries, and it's been deliberately suppressed as part of the agenda of boxing us in, making us powerless, making us less effective, limiting us. And when you start to reactivate the pineal gland, it's very dramatic. And I'm speaking from personal experience myself. When you start to reactivate it, things start to happen. It's a very palpable change. You can feel it. You can physically feel it when your pineal gland starts to reactivate. And one of the reasons why it's related to the third eye is because, well, one, it was discovered that the optic nerve is actually connected to the pineal gland, and also the you can literally feel it in your forehead when your pineal gland is activated. It feels like a slight amount of pressure, and it responds to certain stimuli. For example, when I've had experiences when I hear the truth, my pineal gland my third eye just lights up. It's undeniable, and it's not unpleasant. It sounds unpleasant when I refer to it as when I describe it as a pressure, feeling, a sensation of pressure, but it's not. It's a very pleasurable experience. And on a chemical level, the pineal gland is responsible for producing melatonin and serotonin. Melatonin is what keeps our biological clock, our circadian rhythms. You know, it's what makes us relaxed when at nighttime, and it induces sleep. And serotonin is what keeps us emotionally balanced. In fact, depression, clinical depression, comes as a result of either I have to qualify this. It's a lack of serotonin, basically, is a simple way to explain depression, or the chemical cause of depression. Some would say that it is that our neurons actually absorb the serotonin faster than faster than the pineal gland can produce it. Now, the pernicious thing about this is that people who are diagnosed with clinical depression, they're often prescribed serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which basically what it means is that it's believed that your neurons absorb or burn off the serotonin in your brain faster than the pineal gland can produce it. And so psychiatrists or psychologists will prescribe a serotonin reuptake inhibitor that will inhibit your brain from burning it off as quickly. Now, this is what's believed, and there's no real clinical evidence to this. But what's pernicious about it is what they'll prescribe to you antidepressants that are made of fluoride, like Prozac and Surzone and a number of brand names that, it's a pharmaceutical, I think it's a pharmaceutical plot to diminish your pineal gland, because fluoride is what deactivates the very thing in your brain that's producing the serotonin. So this is not a solution, and this is known. This is not an unknown phenomenon. But the other chemical that the pineal gland produces is a chemical called DMT, and DMT stands for dimethyltryptamine. And there are 2 times in your life when your brain is flooded with dimethyltryptamine, and that is those two times are in vitro and at the time of birth, and also at the time of death. Because it's believed that DMT is what makes it possible. It's the gateway to higher dimensions beyond the 3 dimensions that we live in and are familiar with. What's interesting is that at the 13th week of gestation, that's when it's believed that the soul, by some spiritual schools of thought, like in the Hindu tradition, for example, it's believed that that's when the soul enters the body. And coincidentally, that's also when the pineal gland is completely formed, is at the 13th week of gestation. And also, there's a huge amount of DMT in your brain when you die, which facilitates your soul leaving the body. Now, DMT is also found in nature. It's found in several plants, and there's a decoction called ayahuasca, which is used by South American shaman to reach higher planes of consciousness. And it's a combination of 2 plants. And people who have experienced this have a hyper-spiritual experience. It's like they literally reach another dimension. Some reported it's like talking to God. But your pineal gland can produce this on its own. But due to all of the factors, all of the crap that's put in our water and in our food, and because of environmental factors, and I believe that there is a deliberate agenda, and there has been for several centuries, to deactivate the pineal gland among the masses, to control us, to keep us limited. That the knowledge of the pineal gland has been suppressed, and also there have been factors that were put in place to make sure that it becomes calcified, that it has shrunk in size, and it's toxic. And so here are some of the things. And that's just a quick, brief description just for those of you who are unfamiliar with the pineal gland. But once you activate your pineal gland, you begin to function on a much higher level. And your third eye opens up, your intuition is awakened. You start developing abilities, intuition, precognitive awareness. And I want to cover some of the things that you can do, some of the things that damage the pineal gland that most of us are completely unaware of. And the 3 biggest things are mercury, fluoride, and alcohol. And fluoride, first of all, I mentioned that earlier. Most of us know what fluoride does to us in terms of it makes people docile, and that's what the Nazis used. In the concentration camps, they put that in the water. But in addition to that, the pineal gland is basically a magnet for fluoride. All of the fluoride, almost all the fluoride, I should say, that goes into your body ends up at the pineal gland, because apart from your kidneys, that's where most of your blood goes. That's where what they say the best blood goes, the purest blood, and yeah, it's literally a magnet for fluoride, and so fluoride ends up accumulating on the pineal gland. And also there's a bacteria, a beneficial bacteria that is attracted to the pineal gland, and it gets it forms a calcium shell around itself to protect it from your immune system, and protects your immune system, prevents your immune system from seeing it as a foreign body. And there are all kinds of other things. There's electromagnetic fields affect the pineal gland, which is bad news for us, because the frequency that affects the pineal gland most profoundly is in the 60 hertz range, and that is basically what is emitted by our electrical wiring in our homes, and we're pretty much constantly under the influence of that 60 hertz frequency and that electromagnetic frequency, and so that's something you want to keep in mind to avoid. Alcohol, you want to avoid alcohol, refined sugars, especially aspartame, mercury, like I mentioned earlier, that you'll find in fish. There's little wonder why there's mercury in vaccines. That's how they start dumbing you down. That's how they start separating you from and restricting your consciousness, is by giving our kids mercury in the vaccines. That's not a coincidence. That's not a happenstance. It doesn't happen by accident. Alcohol, fluoride, electromagnetic fields. Okay, well, let's talk about a little bit about what we can do to help cleanse the pineal gland. One of the things, the foods that you eat, it all comes down to three things, basically. And I know I'm jumping all over the place here because I didn't write an outline when I decided to start talking about this. But basically, there are three things that come down to the health of your pineal gland, and that's diet, water, and lifestyle. And as I mentioned already, the fluoride in the water, you want to make sure you just cut that out. No more fluoride in the water. And also be careful about the other beverages that you drink, because you can't assume that there's no fluoride in that either, since everything else you're going to drink is made of water. If you're drinking soda, well, you shouldn't be drinking soda anyway. That's sugar water. It's more sugar. It's like 16 packets of sugar in your standard bottle of Coke or Pepsi. But even juices are oftentimes reconstituted. They're from concentrate. And what they do is they remove the moisture from the fruit, and they extract the essence, the natural part of the fruit. I don't know exactly what the process is, but most people know. I'm pretty sure most of you know what juice from concentrate is. They remove the natural fluids, and then they reconstitute it with water. Well, you don't know if there's fluoride in the water that they're putting back in there. Once you start to realize these things, and I know, I feel like a lot of times my life is a lot different, and it's a lot less convenient than it used to be before I realized these things. I used to think that I had pretty healthy, or somewhat healthy diet and habits, and I thought I was pretty careful about the foods and the beverages that I drank. But you got to take it to the next step. Whatever you're drinking is probably made from fluoridated water, and so you really have to cut that out and only drink natural juice. That's not from concentrate. That's the actual juice that comes from the fruit. Make sure that you don't drink. If you have to drink bottled water, make sure it doesn't come from a municipal source, and make sure that it's been treated in a reverse osmosis process, because that is the only thing besides distillation that will remove fluoride. You just have to think before you put these things in your body. And of course, alcohol is not a good thing. I don't drink, so that's something I don't have to worry about. Aspartame, like I said, refined sugars, and what else? You should try to stay away from the mercury. I already mentioned that. Mercury, fluoride, magnetic fields. Okay, now what can you do to actually detoxify the pineal gland? And there are certain foods that are great. We'll start with mercury. What you can do to cleanse mercury from your pineal gland is wheatgrass, spirulina, cilantro, one of my favorites, sea moss, blue-green algae, and any foods that are high in antioxidants will basically do a good job of removing the mercury from your pineal gland. And I've got some other organic foods. Pesticides. Yeah, that's another thing. A lot of pesticides will attach themselves to the pineal gland, so you want to try to eat as much organic food as possible. GMOs, obviously, well, that's for another reason you don't want GMOs. Nobody wants GMOs. That's never a good thing. But I'll say this about traditionally grown fruits and vegetables. That is at least a step better than GMO produce. But the thing about that is the pesticides that they use, that they spray in the in factory farming and big agro, those pesticides are formulated to not be water soluble, because they don't want that stuff washing off. They don't want it to rain and wash off the fruits and vegetables. And so you are still getting a degree of pesticides. You can wash your fruits and vegetables before you eat them, but I don't really think that you're getting too much of it off. I think that it's stuck on there, and you're ingesting that. So try to eat organic fruits and vegetables. Let's see, meat is another thing that's not recommended for pineal gland health. Any dense meats. I'm not saying to become a vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian, but I limit my meat intake, and it requires that you kind of readjust your whole thinking. I mean, the American diet, we've been brought up to believe that meat should be the central part of the meal. And that's a typically American thing. I mean, you go to other cultures, other parts of the world, and it's mostly grains and vegetables. And the meat portion of the meal comprises a very small part of it. But I'm going to take another quick break, another sponsor break, and when I come back, we'll be talking more. I'm going to cover some more things that you can do for your pineal gland, so just hang tight, and we'll be right back.
No one knows what the future holds, whether an unexpected natural disaster or a catastrophe of a more personal nature. You never know when you're going to need to call upon your survival skills and supplies. In order to be fully prepared, we at Dan's Depot believe you need two things in order to get through these uncertain times without fear: proven gear and top-notch survival training. DansDepot.com is not just another storefront selling survival gear. Our staff has been studying, practicing, and teaching survival skills for over 4 decades. We use and abuse all the gear we sell. So, when we recommend survival products, you can be assured that it's the highest quality gear available at the best price. But having the best gear means nothing if you don't know how to use it. That's why we have on-site video instructions to help you choose survival products for any situation. Each week, we produce new training videos and articles that inform, challenge, and better prepare you in all areas of survival, first aid, and self-reliance. Come visit us at dansdepot.com and let our team of survival experts help you get prepared with the knowledge and equipment you need to face these uncertain times with confidence. That's DANSDEPOT.com.
Silver has been in use as an effective antimicrobial for thousands of years, and this old technology is still in use today. In 2001, a patent was approved for a new medical silver application, nanocatalytic silver hydrosols. Unlike conventional colloidal silver products, some of the advantages of nano-silver include up to 300% greater bioavailability, proven non-toxicity in over 25 university and FDA-approved laboratory studies, and extreme stability with a shelf life of over 10 years. Guaranteed. With just one product, you can replace all the antibiotics, wound and burn dressings, and water purification products in your medical bug-out bag. These products have been patented for use against some of the deadliest pathogens known, many that are resistant to traditional antibiotics, yet are safe and gentle enough for treating a baby's diaper rash. To learn more about this medical silver breakthrough and see the published scientific studies, visit www.lifesilver.com. All orders ship within 24 hours with deep discounts and free shipping for case orders. That's www.lifesilver.com. Survival is not about the end of the world. It's not about a hypothetical plane crash or the latest violent storm. Survival is about the satisfaction of knowing you can take care of yourself and your family in any situation, anytime, anywhere. CampingSurvival.com was started in 1956. No, not the .com part, the survival part. CampingSurvival.com has over 17,000 urban, wilderness, and preparedness items. Supreme customer service, very low shipping, and no games. We look around to make sure we have the lowest prices, and CampingSurvival.com is 100% USMC veteran-owned. Don't base your survival on the latest spring-up on the internet company. Do business with an authority on survival. CampingSurvival.com. Confidence born on preparation.
Okay, and we're back. And once again, just a quick reminder, you can get 5% off at CampingSurvival.com with the coupon code SBRadio. Don't forget that, and just enter that coupon code, SBRadio, all one word, and you'll get 5% off all of your purchases at CampingSurvival.com. Now, back to the list. Where was I? We were on antioxidants, and also some good news. Chocolate is great for detoxifying your pineal gland. Raw cacao is high in antioxidants, and it's a great detoxifier. Now we're talking about not your Hershey bars and milk chocolate, but it's a little hard to take. I've had to develop a taste for dark chocolate, and I can get I can do 65% cacao. It's a little tough for me to go a little higher than that. It's a little too bitter. It's a little hard. But that is very good for your pineal gland as well. Some of the other foods or the other things, excuse me, I adjust my mic here. You should try to eat as many alkaline-producing foods and avoid acid-producing foods. And this is something good to keep in mind for your food storage, for your survival food. And don't get confused with when I say alkaline-producing and avoid acid-producing foods. That doesn't mean that you avoid foods that are acidic. You avoid foods that will produce acids in your body, and like oranges, for example. Oranges have citric acid in them, but your body produces alkaline out of oranges, and this is good for your overall health because in order to maintain optimal health, there's your blood you have to maintain a pH balance in your blood between 7.35 and 7.45, and too much acid in the blood causes an imbalance, and eventually you'll have other health problems and other diseases and further calcification of the pineal gland. Oh yeah, and also if you're taking calcium supplements, I would recommend that you stop that for more reasons than just the pineal gland. You don't really need calcium supplements. You get enough calcium from a slice of cheese to maintain maintain a positive level or a healthy level of calcium. But when people take MRIs or CAT scans, most people the pineal gland shows up as just a big lump of calcium, and you don't want that. That is not good for your pineal gland, and too much calcium is not good for your health. But getting back to the high alkaline and keeping a pH balance. When you have too much acid in your blood, then what your body does to compensate is it draws minerals out of your body, so which necessitates the need to supplement the calcium, which puts you in a vicious cycle. So if you make sure that you eat a lot of high alkaline producing foods, a lot of greens, and I'm a big proponent of greens. A lot of my listeners have heard me talk about the raw food diet and Sergei Boutenko. Greens are just miracle foods. Raw greens will. Sergei Boutenko actually he cured his diabetes with a raw green diet. But yeah, fresh vegetables, not processed. Some of the vegetables, there's an extensive list of alkaline forming vegetables and fruits, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will post this on survivalandbeyond.net for you folks, so you can get the list and just copy and paste it. But some of them are alfalfa, artichoke. Asparagus, one of my favorites. Asparagus is a great vegetable for overall health, and also I believe that food is medicine, and that's what that's what our ancient ancestors believed. Before we had pharmaceuticals, before we had drugs, the pharmaceutical industry will have you believe that the human race nearly it went extinct before they came along. Like everybody died in childhood. But it's food, really. That's the medicine, And asparagus is great. Not only is it good for your pineal gland, not only is it a high alkaline producing food, but it's also been shown to be an anti-carcinogen. There have been studies conducted that show that if you eat just a tablespoon or a teaspoon of pureed asparagus, and it doesn't matter if it's canned or if it's fresh. I mean, fresh vegetables are always best, but it has been shown to not only prevent cancer but to cure cancer. One of the many cancer-fighting foods, asparagus. Some other great alkaline-forming vegetables, beets, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, celery, chives, collard greens, cucumber, dandelions, garlic. Garlic is another one of those miracle foods. It's a natural antibiotic. I believe my firm belief is I always say there's no such thing as too much garlic. I love garlic, and I put way too much garlic in everything I eat, and I never get sick. I never get a cold, and that's partly due to the fact that I drink a lot of water, and I have I'm more conscious of my lifestyle, and also a lot of times when I do feel a cold coming on, I can usually get rid of it. Just I'll just meditate on and I'll meditate and concentrate on just getting that virus out of my body. And I can't remember the last time I've had a cold. I mean, I'll have maybe a cold every couple of years, and it's never really a severe cold. But most of the time, yeah, I'm pretty healthy. I don't really get sick that much. Garlic, let's see, eggplant. I don't know if I mentioned eggplant. Leeks, lettuce, lima beans, mushrooms, mustard greens. Some fruits that are good are apple, apricot, avocado, bananas. Bananas another one of my favorites. I eat at least 2 bananas every day. Blackberries, cantaloupe, coconut, grapefruit, grapes, kiwi, limes, lemons. Again, traditionally considered acidic foods, but they're not acid-producing foods. They won't disrupt the pH. It's fine for the pH balance of your blood. So, pears, pineapples, raisins, raspberries, rhubarb. I'll put this list online on the website. Also, nuts, seeds, grains, almonds, chestnuts, flax seeds, lentils, pecans, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, walnuts. There are certain spices that are alkaline forming, such as chili pepper, cinnamon, curry, ginger, herbs, soy sauce. I have a little trepidation about the soy sauce. You have to, one of the things that I'm always careful of is that unfermented soy sauce is fine because that's fermented. But the other thing about soy as well is if it's made in the United States, then it's probably genetically modified. But otherwise, also other soy products I tend to avoid, like tofu. People generally think that tofu is healthy for you. It's really not. Non-fermented soy actually inhibits your digestive system's ability to extract nutrients or to assimilate nutrients from your food, and so that's something you might want to watch out for. But as far as like the pineal gland, soy sauce is good. Olive oil is also good. It's a non-acid forming food, or it's an alkaline forming food. Kind of foods that you should avoid are dairy products, flour, white flour, processed flour, meats, as I mentioned before, pasta, sugar, pastries, things of that nature. Anything that's sugary will be acid forming. So there's a pretty good outline there for your diet to help to detoxify and to decalcify your pineal gland. Some other things that you can do that I'd like to mention. I don't know if I've got enough time to go into this thoroughly. This would make a good topic for a whole show. Is the solfeggio frequencies, and I've mentioned this again. I've mentioned this on the show before, and again, I didn't really go into it into any depth because I had other topics to talk about, and I'm always feeling rushed a little bit. It's like I do a 2-hour show, especially if I have a guest. If I have a guest and I've only got 1 hour to cover the things that I want to talk about. I like to stay topical. I like to keep people informed and bring up the things that are going on in the. I never know how to approach this. It's not in the news because you're not getting from the mainstream media news. But I like to keep people informed. But I also like to discuss other issues and topics that are kind of outside of the norm. As far as consciousness and spiritual development, and that's all very important. And I've been starting to notice that in the survival and preparedness realm, there's been a lot more attention being paid to these topics, and it all ties in with understanding the matrix, or understanding the illusion, the hologram that we've been brainwashed into believing. And I think it's something that's very important. That and it's gratifying to see that other people are in the survival and in the liberty movement and in the freedom movement are picking up on. And I think it's always been an element of the freedom movement, because in that realm we talk about the New World Order and about the suppression that's been going on for centuries, and it's, since for at least the last 6,000 years, since Babylonian times, ever since civilization, ever since we started building civilizations, there have always been factions that want to control and want to enslave. And we keep going through this cycle over and over again. And it's about time that we just broke the cycle, because we keep falling for it. We go. History is replete with examples of humanity, of cultures that become enslaved, and then they throw off the yoke of slavery, and they make drastic changes. There's revolution. There's they overthrow their leaders, their slave masters, only to set up another system that becomes corrupt. And the whole cycle begins anew, and the same thing, you can see it happening here in America. We threw off one slave master, we threw off the yoke of the British Empire, we set up another system, and gradually over time, that system is turned corrupt, and that system is turned into it's worse than what we were originally under with the British rule. It's because we don't learn from our mistakes, and we allow history to repeat because we don't learn from history. And you all know how the cliche goes, and so I don't think I have to repeat it. But yeah, the other things about the pineal gland that you have to be aware of, like I mentioned before, electromagnetic fields. Your cell phone, that's you're getting a lot of electromagnetic radiation from your cell phone. I always recommend to people that you should never put your cell phone up to your ear. You should never hold that thing up to your head. You should at least use the speakerphone and hold it in your hand. Or what I do is I use a Bluetooth earpiece, and I've consulted with communications expert. In fact, Craig Green, he's usually my go-to guy. He's got 30 years experience in all forms of communication, and he absolutely refuses to put a cell phone up to his head. I mean, he's worked in the cell phone industry, and he knows firsthand what that's all about. He doesn't let his kids use a cell phone without a Bluetooth, and he says that using a Bluetooth earpiece is on an order of magnitude of like 30 times less dangerous than actually holding the phone up to your head. So that's something else you have to keep in mind. And I know a lot of people I know a lot of people who start off using a Bluetooth earpiece, and then they fall out of the habit. They just don't like having the thing sticking in their ear. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have something sticking in your ear, or would you rather have a giant brain tumor from years of subjecting your head to that kind of radiation? But, boy, time sure does fly. Every single show, I never get to talk about everything that I intend to cover in the show. Or, also without fail, I always forget to mention a lot of things. Every time I finish up and I get everything produced and edited and all that, and I think, oh damn, I forgot to mention this, or I forgot to mention that. But there's one other thing that I wanted to get into on this show, and this is a really big topic anyway. The whole pineal gland thing, and And I'm kind of, even still, I don't feel like I'm giving it, or I'm doing it justice and really, you know, getting into the nuts and bolts of it. I'm trying to, you know, present a little bit more of a fleshed out primer. You know, like I brought this up on a couple of different shows, and I've just kind of like mentioned it, and, you know, and didn't really have time to go into it in too much detail, and really I was kind of kidding myself. Well, I don't think I ever really thought that I was going to get to cover the whole thing, but it's a good start, and this is a topic that will be brought up again, and also the topic of, at least you've got the at least you've got something to start off with, as far as, like, you know, what to do, as far as what to put in your body to help you cleanse and reactivate the pineal gland. If not a little bit of a better idea of what the pineal gland does, if you didn't know already, and that thing, I mean, I could do an entire show just on the pineal gland and the DMT and the gateway, really, to the higher realm of consciousness and awareness, and oh boy, it's something that'll be discussed again, because this is very instrumental to, and, you know, trying to tie it all together is a little unwieldy for me, but this will get all wrapped up in a neat bundle, because, like everything, you know, like everything else, everything is connected, and the real key to setting yourself free, I mean, true freedom. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about true personal freedom, which does not come from a government and, you know, a changing government or anything like that. I mean, you know, we always end up just doing the same thing over and over again. We need a wholesale paradigm shift in our consciousness and the way that we understand our reality and the world around us, and we need to get just a huge mass of people, you know, understanding what it's really all about, understanding that this is the only way to really change. This is the only way to affect any meaningful change, anyway, towards the path of freedom. And there once was a time when we were truly free, and those who would say that government is necessary, or that we need to have laws and rules and whatnot. You know, on one hand, you know, you could call it anarchy, and that would be like the truest, you know, in the truest definition of the word anarchy is not anarchy is not like chaos. Anarchy is not a free for all. Anarchy is not like, you know, every man for himself. That's not what the true meaning of anarchy is. And I don't really consider myself an anarchist, because, you know, again, you know, even the lack of a political body or the lack of a governing body is still a political philosophy. And also there are those who say, well, the human race isn't, you know, ready to, or, you know, is not at that level of evolution. You know, we're not evolved enough to live without laws and rules. And it's like, well, yeah, we really are, and it's not about evolution. You know, I'm not really a big proponent of the theory of evolution. I'm not a creationist either, but yeah, there's a lot of flaws in Darwinism, and oh boy, this is another can of worms that I shouldn't be opening right now. I'm going to get off on a philosophical tangent, but yeah, the whole concept that we evolved from apes because our DNA is so closely, you know, it's almost identical to the DNA of apes. I think it's like 95%. It's 95% the same as a chimp's DNA, but, you know, our DNA is also 65% identical to a banana. It's 50% identical to a squirrel. Does that mean we evolved from squirrels or bananas? It's like, no, the reason why there is such a great similarity is because that this is a formula that works. And nature's like, oh, this works. This is a good foundation to build on, and so this is what to use for other living organic things. We're more closely related to mushrooms on a mitochondrial level than a lot of other animals. It's just a good platform to build on, and that's why the DNA is similar. But we're going to save that philosophy for another time. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, not with only 4.5 minutes left in the show. But it is imperative that more of us begin to understand our true nature and the power that we actually have. And that's something I think is extremely important. I think more and more people are waking up to it. But there's a lot of things that can be used to help us along. And getting back to the notion of anarchy, I'm not calling for anarchy, but I am saying that yes, if we can make that next step, if we can understand the true nature of reality and we can understand the true nature of consciousness, then we don't need a government, because we'll be there. We'll be at that higher plane of functioning, that higher plane of existence, and it's not a bunch of new age mumbo jumbo, man. I mean, it's true. From my own experience, I can only speak from my own experience. I'm not telling you this stuff because I read it in a book or I looked it up online. I'm telling you this is my life, and this is something that came as a result of years and years of study and experience, and because of the path that I was on. I mean, my background is it's facilitated by my background in the fact that I tend to gravitate more towards nature, and that's where I got my survival skills. I never went around thinking of myself as a survivalist. I'm just a nature freak. I feel more comfortable in that energy outdoors and everything. But we're running a little short on time, and don't want to throw a bunch of disjointed things at you. But that's what happens is. I've got all these thoughts like flying around in my head. It's like, oh, you mention this before you go, and mention this before the end of the show. It's almost like I think of like every show as if it's going to be my last, and I have to get out as much information as possible. But I might have to start considering doing more than one show a week. Actually, if I can swing it, if I can manage that, with my one-man show here, maybe once I get some help, maybe an assistant or something like that, then it'll be a little bit easier. But right now, gonna just start signing off, and I'll tell you next week we'll talk more about this stuff, and I'll cover some more stuff about solfeggio frequencies and about it's all about frequencies, man. It's all about vibration. Again, like Einstein said, we got it wrong. Our understanding of the universe is wrong. It's matter. Matter is energy, and everything. It's all about frequency. It's all about vibration, and Tesla and a lot of other very enlightened and learned individuals. They knew this stuff. They've been trying to tell us this stuff for decades, and actually, the universe has been trying to tell us this stuff for hundreds of years, if not thousands. Well, yeah, thousands of years is actually more accurate. But until then, until next week, as usual, keep your head up, keep on living free, and remember, this is your world. You create it. You control what it is. You have complete control over it. And I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, by the way. Don't eat too much turkey. And stay away from Black Friday, man. Boy, That's a truly American concept that we should go out the day after a holiday that's devoted to observing gratitude and being grateful for what we have. Then the very next day we go out and fight each other to get more stuff. But anyway, that's another discussion for another time. I'll probably talk about that next week too. And there goes my timer. So everybody take care. Have a great holiday. Have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll catch you next week.
Have you ever wanted to generate your own supply of electrical power, even save money on your electric bill? If so, this is going to be the most important message you will ever hear. Solar power generators are now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. Unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running quietly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, and even keep your food from spoiling. Whether it's hurricanes, ice storms, brownouts, or blackouts, you'll never suffer through painful power outages again. And here's the best news, a remarkable fall truckload sale going on right now that gets you $1,700 in bonuses when you buy a solar generator. To find out why solar generators are the best generators and get $1,700 for doing so, go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com. Generate your own supply of electricity. Go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com.
The new Be Prepared for Christmas package from Sun Ovens contains everything you need to harness the power of the sun for cooking, water, and dehydrating. The perfect gift for the preppers or outdoor enthusiast on your shopping list. A sun oven uses the sun's power to bake, boil, or steam food, heat water for purification or personal hygiene, or solar dehydrate. When you use the sun's power on sunny days, you preserve your fuel storage for rainy days. Sun-baked foods retain moisture, have less shrinkage, and do not burn. Sun-baked roasts are tastier and more succulent, and sun-baked bread has unparalleled taste and texture. The new Be Prepared for Christmas package lets you roast an 18-pound turkey. For the past 26 years, Sun Ovens has been proudly made in the U.S., are durable, and have a long life and come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. For a discount coupon, visit sunoven.com/podcast. That's sunoven.com/podcast.
This is KPRN-DB, broadcasting worldwide from Southeast Oklahoma, USA to parts unknown.